With every breath, there's a story. Welcome to With Every Breath, Episode 4, Choosing Family, Finding Strength in Sisterhood. Take a deep breath with me. Some of us are born into families that hold us. Others are born into families that break us open. And sometimes, in the middle of that tension, we learn the beauty of choosing family, of finding the ones who see us, love us, and walk with us when life at home feels uncertain. This episode is about that kind of family. It's about sisterhood. Growing up in Shaker Heights, Ohio, Akia, affectionately known as Key, wasn't just my childhood best friend, she is my sister. We spent countless hours together, laughing, dreaming, and finding pockets of joy in between school and all the happenings in our community. But what I've come to realize is that while we were incredibly close, the inside of our homes were different and has shaped us in different ways. Key, thank you so much for being here. When you think back to those days, what do you remember most or what stands out most about growing up in Shaker Heights?
Shaker Heights, one big melting pot. I feel like we had all different races, all different neighborhoods, just every walk of life, period, in Shaker. So I didn't really realize that until I'm grown now, that I look back and say, we experienced all those things and our fingertips were right there and we didn't even realize it because that was normal.
It was our norm.
It was the norm.
It was our norm. And I know for me, so I grew up gifted. And I was separated from like my community of friends at times through the classrooms. Mm-hmm. So I had separate classes sometimes. That was the only time that I felt like something was different because I was switching between what I had to be in those classes and then my normal everyday, like with my friends. Even though we knew things were normal, were there any moments where there were just times where you felt like something was a little bit off, like with maybe interactions in different peer groups, or were you always, like, for the most part, feeling steady?
I feel like for the most part I felt steady, basically from having an older brother who kind of paved the way. So everything was already laid out for me. I'm everybody's little sister when I get to the school. Teachers already know me. I already know people there, so it wasn't as scary, or it was like home, even though we went to like a big high school.
Yeah. Like we had a lot of big brothers. It's like we had our actual big brother. So I had one big brother, and then Key had one big brother, but her big brother was like both of our brothers, Carl. Mm-hmm. And he had a whole lot of friends that were all our brothers.
And they were the cool group.
Yeah. So this is a good segue into the home and what our family lives were like in shaping like how we connected to the community. And I think you just really set the stage for that in terms of the role that our brother Carl played in setting the way and expectations and standards for what we could and could not do. And those things, kind of like share like a little bit about like what your home life was like and how that set you up for who you became or how you became known in the community.
Home life, single mom, entrepreneur, 9 to 5, not 9 to 5, but work nights, a business during the day, no nonsense. But still, what the joke was, she never slept. Her eyes would be closed. Where you going? What y'all want to eat? Pick us up, drop us off. So I would say home life was normal for the most part. Come home after school, eat dinner. Homework was expected to be done. No, nobody was helping with homework, but it was everything was expected to be done and just follow the rules at school. As far as having the older brother, the things that you may try to sneak away and do or, just be mischievous, he always had eyes on us. So we couldn't get too far. And if we got too far, then he'd tell mom, and mom had eyes on us. So,
Yeah, so I spent a lot of time in Key's home. It was really a safe place for me. It was a safe place for me. When I first met Key was around fifth grade, and this was not too much time after my mother entered a relationship with my brother's father, my youngest brother's father, and that relationship was a bit tumultuous for our household. So I spent a lot of time in Key's house, and her mom and her brother treated me as if I was theirs. I was theirs. I can remember sometimes them looking at me like, "You still here?" I'm like, "Yeah, hi," And I would be there all the time, and I can just remember how much love, how safe I felt there, how just watching her mom really and truly was the first time between her and another aunt of mine that I understood, like, you could do multiple things. And she was one of the first examples that I saw of being a working mom and also an entrepreneur, which was really amazing, fast forward, because at that time, I had no understanding of really like, oh, I can be an entrepreneur. It's like I saw her doing it, and I was like, oh, but I still didn't make the connection to like, oh, this is something that, we could do later. So it was really amazing to see the seeds that she planted within me that I didn't even recognize. And then the standards and expectations just around how we developed our self-worth and value. Talk a little bit about that, Key, in terms of like how your identity was shaped around the love, the comfort, the support, the discipline that you received from mom, and then also your brother in the community.
when I think about like value, I remember kindergarten when the teacher would say, pick your partner. And I remember being so stressed out because I had a few friends and I'm like, oh, well, I want to be Key's partner. I want to be Key's partner. And I'm thinking, if there's so many people, why am I so stressed out about being one person's partner? So then I started realizing that everybody's home life is different. So as I got feedback growing up, I'm one of those people who makes everybody belong. So everybody wanted to be my partner, but I didn't realize that in kindergarten. I'm like, okay, this is stressful, but I still carry that trait now. So the value is because I'm feeling valued at home. I think I bring that to the table for everybody, whether knowing if they feel the value or not, that they are somebody, they belong, you're supposed to be here, have your own identity, do what works for you.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. And this is very true because I know, and I don't want to skip too far ahead. Key was like my everything at one point, and I'm like we're opposites in that way because I don't like sharing, and she's so many things to so many people. It was kind of like it was certain points where I would feel like, well, no, she's mine, like you can't be her friend. But she, I know I always have like a big space in her heart though. So it was like, okay, you guys can be her friend too. But I think about just that friendship and that sisterhood and how important it is to have people when they say it takes a village, and how important it is to recognize as you're growing up that even though you may have a family that may not be the ideal family or the picture perfect family, or there may be some instability in the home, that you can choose family. You can choose family every day, and you can reimagine and reframe, what family means to you at every point as you meet those people who are more in alignment with who you are, who you want to be, the things you enjoy, and all those things. And that's what I found, in our relationship and in our friendship and in us being family along the way. And I'm very, very grateful for it. So let's talk a little bit more about the community. Did you ever feel pressure to like show up in certain ways in Shaker? Like I can remember like feeling like we had to dress a certain way. I can remember instances where I felt a little bit uncomfortable about people knowing certain things, like in my home, and, just because there was like a certain, I guess, just expectation around being in the have and the have-nots, kind of. Like, did you feel that? Did you ever compare like our family to other like our other peer groups or what we had or what was going on? Because we had a pretty good, strong friend group.
Mm-hmm. I don't think I so much compared it. I think I what's the word? I think it was good to have different examples because I feel like our friend group had a different. All of us were raised differently, but we all kind of piggybacked off each other. Like your house had the pluses and the cons, where we're like, well, let's go to my house for this plus and this con. Let's go to our other friend's house for the father guy. Let's go to our other friend's house with the two parents, and we still didn't understand why mom's still handling everything, even though you've got two parents, So I feel like our friend group had so many different examples of life that you don't realize until you're grown, that I don't think we compared because I feel like I didn't compare because I feel like we all brought something that helped me realize that it was okay to be different.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I don't feel like I compared either, but I do feel like I noticed a difference. Like I can think about being at like Two Blues house.
Mm-hmm.
Like I always looked like, wow, like yeah. It was like, like wow, okay, like this is
Mm-hmm.
different. But to your point, there were, pros and cons there as well,
Mm-hmm.
and um I think that understanding, and it goes back to that reframing, because I know in working in schools for a long time with students, high school students, and they would share with me about, their family home life. It was always from, a place of lack. And I think it's so important to teach young people or anyone, when you got to be able to see the good in everything. And although there may have been like missing pieces, like both of us growing up in a single family household, there's still always, for me, that taught us really resilience, like that's our base. Like even though we definitely had our moments like, okay, like, you're right. That really was the foundation of who we are like as women, that strength and that resilience. How much does that impact has that impacted you as a mother and you as a wife, Key? So as you grew past all of that and you went on and went into your field and became who you are, and then you took on these new roles of motherhood and being a wife, like where does that resilience show up with who you are today?
I see. Who I am today, I feel like has a lot to do with growing up. I enjoy my kids like my mom did us. As far as my
Shout
husband,
out to Rainey and Major and Bray.
favorite auntie dog.
Yeah.
So in just for the marriage, from not really looking at that growing up, I was able to put my own spin into it. So we do what works for us. We're happy. We raise the kids like we want to. So I don't really have that expectation of this is how I'm going to do it because this is how I saw it done, because I didn't really see that. So I just feel like you said, if you take the positive, you take those pieces and put it into your own spin, and this is what works for us now. So my kids may or may not use what works for us, but they have that example to see if this is the way they want to go or if it's not.
I love that. I love that. So Key grew up in a single family home. Her mother and father divorced. My mother and father were never married, and we definitely like went through stages of understanding what our relationships were with our fathers, and not having that example, but both of us being able, to your point, taking what we did have and then turn it into beautiful lives.
Mm-hmm.
Like, our lives are amazing.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And it's really, about just learning how to reframe and having the self-awareness to be able to reflect and say, okay, this is what happens, this is how it impacted me, but it doesn't have to shape me in a negative way or keep me stuck in any way. Because you've had so many experiences. You lived a lot of different places. Is there anything else that you think that would stand out just in terms of that piece of how you filled in the pieces, not having different examples, and then your journey and how you were able to fill in the pieces in your own way to create the beautiful life that you have right now?
I would say living in different places because my husband was in the military. Back to the Shaker Heights piece of it, everything, all roads lead to what's happening next. So because of the melting pot, I was able to live in California and be a surfer or be the only Black female in a lot of places in my life, but not feel uncomfortable about it. Or just moving to Massachusetts, completely different from Cleveland, cold place, but still completely different. I've worked in the spas, I've worked in massage places, retail, but the one thing that remains the same is making everybody belong. So once I do that, then I become, then people kind of welcome me. And so I still keep in touch with pretty much everybody just because of belonging. And I feel like that helped me live in these places by myself with no family. So when you came to town, I'm like, oh, family, so because I never thought I'd move out of Cleveland, really, based off how we grew up. I'm like, this is actually an option. And once I started traveling, you love home, but I don't have a desire to go back and live at home. Like we've created a new home.
Yeah. I love that, and this will take us into the last segment here, the sisterhood, and how we have navigated very different lives, very different decisions, different paths, but found our ways back to each other.
Every time.
I know, right? And it was so interesting because I had always wanted to move to Georgia, and at one point I was trying to move, it didn't work out. Ended up out in Phoenix, and then I wanted to try it again, move back home. You guys have to catch that on another episode. But it was like divine timing when Key had relocated to Georgia, and I knew I was making my way there. And we were able to reconnect in a way that I've just been so grateful for, and just really understanding how when those core values, which I believe are really rooted in love, which we didn't even really get to talk about our spirituality and our faith, because we probably could do a whole episode on that. But that was a big part, of how we were built, and that connection, in those values, how we grew up, how we were raised by our mothers, our family, I feel like are the things that, keep us united. So even if there were times where we didn't talk or we don't talk, me and Key can pick right back up, wherever we left off, we just pick right back up again. What does that mean to you? When you think about all of the things that you went through in your life or you go through in your journey, what does sisterhood mean to you, having a sister?
Sisterhood is great. It's great because I didn't have a blood sister growing up. So us spending all that time, when I look back, you've always been there for all the big moments. Like my brother dying, my uncle dying, my wedding. You were the first one crying when I walked in. You were there to have to yell at somebody if you needed to. So, sorry I got
That's okay. That's okay.
when I look back, I'm like, we spent a lot of time not talking, but every time I needed you, you were there. That's all. That's it.
I knew she was going to do this. Thank you, and I adore you. Key, when it comes, it's only a few people, it's only a few people that I'm dropping everything, like, and the purpose of this podcast is for me to, it's like this last little leg of healing. Some of the things that I went through in isolation, and it caused me to separate from people I love for years at a time sometime. And I didn't really recognize it until, after a whole lot of like therapy and rebuilding my faith, and just, it took a lot to get to this moment where I can get it out. And she never judged me. She never judged me. She knows how to poke me, when I've been too long. Like, are you in the cave? And I'm so thankful for that. I'm so thankful, and I cherish her, and I cherish, what we have. And I'm just so grateful that you were able to do this with me, and we have been able to reconnect here. And I just want to say, like, how much I love you and how much I appreciate your faith and belief and your patience with me, never giving up on me as a friend, because I know that I haven't been like the best friend, over the years in terms of like me communicating and in the presence, but I do appreciate you recognizing that in the big moments, I really, 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 really try my best to show up, because you mean so much to me and your family and everything. And I'm just grateful, for sisterhood, and just for the revelation that you can choose family, and I choose you, and I choose Mom, and I choose Carl. And thank you. Just thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
As we share these memories, I'm reminded of something powerful, that our genuine connection and unconditional love gave us the strength we needed. Choosing family doesn't always mean the people who share your blood. It's the ones who show up, the ones who remind you of your worth when the world tries to tell you otherwise. For me, Key has always been that. She is proof that sisterhood can hold what our families sometimes can't. The lesson I carry is this: we don't have to accept the narrative we were handed. We get to rewrite it, and we don't have to do it alone. I'd like to invite you into a moment of reflection. Take out your journal and write down who in your life feels like chosen family, who shows up for you when blood ties fall short. If you don't have a journal handy, just hold their faces in your heart right now. As you reflect, rest in this truth: a friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for adversity. That's Proverbs 17:17. Let those words remind you of the strength that comes through genuine connection. If it feels safe, close your eyes. You'll hear a 639 hertz tone in the background, helpful with connection and relationships. Imagine a circle of sisters around you, chosen family, standing close. With every inhale, feel their support, and with every exhale, let gratitude rise. Whisper to yourself, I belong, I am held, I am supported. I belong, I am held, I am supported. When you're ready, you can keep your reflections in your journal or share them with me inside the With Every Breath reflection space. It's a space to honor the family we choose. Now let's breathe it together. Inhale slowly and say to yourself, I am supported. Exhale gently. Whisper, I am never alone. Now let's do one more round of breathing together. Inhale slowly and say to yourself, I am supported. Exhale gently and whisper, I am never alone. I am supported. I am never alone. We rise together when we choose each other. With every breath, we remember that family is not only where we come from, it's also where we choose to belong. Thank you for joining me for this episode. I hope you continue to the next episode, Standing on My Own, the Weight of Ambition and Vision. Until next time, keep breathing, keep choosing, and keep leaning into the connections that bring you life.